Hey cats, it's Ed Midsole here. Today I've got a shoe in for review that is highly anticipated by many runners, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Carbon plated, super soft and super light. How does this one hold up against the other carbon competitors? Let's get to it. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. Do hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like too. Comment as well to help fight the algorithm. Dankeschön. This is a shoe that Puma have sent over to me for review, but they're not going to be paying me or vetting my views before my valued viewers get to see them. Now, this shoe did launch over here in the UK in a small batch on the 17th of June, but I think the wider release is coming in July, so if you do want to pick up a pair, you may have to wait a little while. My pair here in a UK 11 or US size 12 are coming in at 226 grams or 8 ounces on the money, so that makes them about 18 grams heavier than the lightest race shoe I've got, which is the Metaspeed Sky Paris from Asics, though it does make these about 24 grams lighter than the previous version, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2. So you got close to an ounce off in terms of weight. It really is something. Though amazingly, we've got more heel stack here, about 42 millimeters in the heel in my size, and about 34 millimeters up front too. So spot on 8mm drop as advertised by Puma. It's Nitro Elite foam here, but it feels more like the stuff that we had in the Puma Fast R Nitro Elite 2. Very soft, very compressive. That's a shoe that I reviewed earlier this year. The foam comes in at a Shore A durometer rating of 22. You could put your head on this and sleep very soundly. In terms of softness comparison, it's very similar to something like the Vaporfly 3, the Zoom X material in that is very close. On the outsole here, we do have Puma grip, but I think it's a light version of it. It doesn't feel quite as rubbery, I suppose. The lugs aren't quite as large, and we do have a slightly softer durometer score here of 51. I do believe I got a score of about 60 on the rubber that featured on the V2 version of the shoe. It's certainly a more European style fit in the toe box. We have quite a significant lateral taper here into the toe box, though I'm finding the upper perhaps a little bit more accommodating. Perhaps if you have a more voluminous foot in terms of height, then you could be okay. I wouldn't suggest going up or down a half size. I do believe that the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 is true to size. I've got about 11 centimeters up here in terms of width at the widest point in the toe box, and about 8.5 centimeters in the heel. Just creeping up to about 14 miles worth of testing so far, and here's my thoughts. Upper first, it's mega light, really nice, flexible and conforming material here. They've used the power tape stuff in a slightly different way this time, utilising it to provide some structure in the sort of rear area of the shoe. The tongue is quite reminiscent of the V2 version of this shoe. It's got a little bit more padding where it counts up here at the lace end. The upper overall is just very comfortable, stays out the way, provides a nice range of motion, I suppose. It doesn't really get in the way of flexibility. I like the fact that they have trimmed down the section around the ball of your ankle here. Doesn't feel perhaps like it's too close to it. As you sink into the midsole, sometimes on the V2 you could feel the edge of the ankle area here, but you don't feel that here. Now, we do have stretchy laces here, and I did find over the initial runs that I had to kind of dial in the fit somewhat to get the tension just right, but the laces are perfect in terms of length if you want to do a runner's knot or a standard bow. Let me know, are you a runner's knot kind of person or are you a standard bow? Drop me a comment. I'm really keen to see what people do. On the first runs, did find the upper gives a little bit, so do be prepared for that. You might want to take them out for some initial outings. I wouldn't just get them on foot and do a race. Does feel almost like a football boot style vibe, and I'm really into that, to be honest with you. Always like the European football boots from Adidas, Mizuno and Puma too. I really do like the mesh that they've used here though on this third iteration of the shoe. It's super breathable and super light. Really is a joy to run in, certainly in the warmer days that we've got here at the moment in the UK. That'll probably last for all of 3 hours. I do love this colourway. It is super fresh. There is one thing I'm not quite so keen about though, and that's this really big nitro motif here. I think if they just left it this colour, or perhaps just utilised the Puma logo or something, it would have looked a little bit better. Now, there is no traditional heel counter here as such. We do have a plasticky overlay on the back. That does provide a little bit of structure, but I can't really say it's a uncomfortable experience back there. So a great shoe in terms of the upper if you have a narrow or standard width foot. I think I'd probably avoid it if you have a wider foot. I just don't think there's going to be enough room here for you. Liking the upper so far. It's a little bit tougher to dial in than the Metaspeed Sky Paris, but I think fans of the previous version of the shoe will like it, and it's certainly weight relieved. I'll give it a 2.9 for the upper so far after my initial runs. Midsole. Midsole now. Midsole wise, this is a move back, for me at least, to the first version of this shoe. Not a lot of people tested that one out. Some people kind of completely overlooked it, and it was a great shoe, very light. This time though, we've got that full 40mm heel stack, and I think they've got one of the best in class midsoles here. It is absolutely fantastic. You may remember I talked about the durability of the midsole foam in the Fast R2 from Puma. Now we got more of the same here, and I don't see longevity being an issue whatsoever. This is a shoe you can pick up, use in training, use it in your racing, just enjoy it. You're not going to have to baby it and, you know, clean it with your toothbrush, you know, put it into the glass case. This is one I'm just going to get out there and enjoy, just like I did with the Fast R2. It's compressive, but due to the lightness of the whole thing, it's really easy to increase your cadence, get the turnover going. It's just such a light nature. It's quite a joy to run in. Takes me back to shoes like the Prime X and the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. It fits into that sort of area, that category. I think most people, if you're training for a half marathon or a full marathon, you could get something out of this shoe. Fun, it's forgiving at easier paces too, doesn't feel too sort of rigid and controlling. Certainly feels pretty stable to me across the footbed as well, despite the fact there's a lot of squash here. As you put in some more effort up to sort of half marathon through to 5k pace, the shoe does respond really well. It likes going quickly, that's for sure, but I think it's quite a all-rounder, bit of a Botham, I suppose. I think the DNA is there from the V1. What was great about that shoe, they've managed to sort of grab and take the great things from the second version and kind of made a best of. And when you consider that this shoe is lighter than the Vaporfly 3 from Nike, it just goes to show how far we've moved forward. The other brands have caught up really with Nike's prototype, I suppose, their original idea, and they've just improved on it. Better materials, better fit. I mean, the upper between this and the Vaporfly 3, there's no comparison. This is way better. And they've produced a range of shoes that can work for sort of any runner, really. You haven't got that weird arch kind of cutting in feel here in the Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Where carbon plate shoes have become a little bit cookie cutter, I suppose, it's good to see that Puma are daring to stand out from the crowd, and that's exactly what this version of the shoe does. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 3 for midsole. It's worth it. Fantastic. Really one of the best I've tried. Outsole wise, they have trimmed back the rubber a little bit, but I wouldn't fret too much about that. They've got it only where needed, really. A good spread in the forefoot there, and some more minimal strips in the heel. It does feel like they've reduced the firmness factor to the rubber somewhat. It's a little bit more malleable. I don't think it's going to disappear anytime soon though, that's for sure. The amount of rubber here still gives some really great grip, really good traction going around corners especially. And when you've got a shoe that's a little bit softer, you really want that. There are some elements of exposed midsole here, but this stuff seems to really last the test of time. Give it a bit of a wipe over or something with a damp cloth and you're good to go. I mean, you've got to sacrifice something if you want to bring the weight down, so I suppose losing a little bit of rubber up front is probably a good sacrifice to make. There's enough here in the heel to protect the sort of more fragile areas back here that are exposed. There are some small areas where you're going to get grit and grime in here, but it's reasonably easy to clean if you've got a firmer bristle brush. Though do be prepared for the cat motif to sort of fade. It is printed on top of the rubber here, and after a couple of runs that has faded away. So if that's the type of thing that really upsets you, then you know, okay. So thinner strips on the heel, main change, and there's no rubber on that sort of lateral section that creeps back towards the heel. Very little to dislike here from an outsole perspective, aside from the fact it's going to pick up quite a bit of grit. I mean, you could suggest you could get some stones stuck in here, but all of the carbon plate shoes have got that now. I'll give it a 2.9 out of 3 for the outsole after my initial runs. Value now. So the shoe has taken on a little bit of weight. Cost-wise, I mean, your wallet's going to get lighter. Does that count? It's 195 quid at retail, this one, so it's about £15 more than the V2. I think it's certainly a cheaper alternative to the Vaporfly 3 at that price, or even that Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. They're still keeping those at around about £220, I think. In fact, it's cheaper than pretty much any of the super shoes that have been released in 2024, that I can think of anyway. Out the box, my pair are good in terms of the quality and the build. I haven't got any sort of mismatched bits of foam. There's no dodgy glue marks or seepage anywhere. The shoes are well packaged, come in a really nice Puma Nitro box, a little bit different to the standard Puma box. Stitching, quality are on point, and I think for the amount of cash, it's pretty good. I mean, it's still close to £200, which is a lot of money for a shoe. I don't think you're going to be kept up at night, though, worrying about the fragility of the foam. It's not going to break down too quick or anything like that. I do believe that the Puma offerings, certainly at this price point at least, are really good value, always have been, especially with that V1 version of the Deviate Nitro Elite. So we know that the foam is pretty durable from the Fast R2. They've lessened the weight. We've still got that fantastic 8mm drop here, and the outsole was Puma grip, and it's best in class. So all in all, for me, it's a competitor, certainly for any race distance really, against the Vaporfly and the Metaspeed Sky Paris, though still with the characterful Puma hints. I'm going to give this one a 2.9 out of 3 for value. If I've totaled the scores up correctly, one of the highest scores I've given in a while, an 11.7 out of 12 for the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 after my initial runs. Are you planning on picking up a pair of these? They are very, very good, enjoyable and fun to run in, certainly. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one down in the comments. Musical interlude for you. Later on, England are playing again against Denmark. Big game, let's hope they perform. I've been listening to the classic track from New Order, World in Motion. I love everything about this one, the early 90s dance vibes. There's some fantastic drum programming in here, and also the classic John Barnes rap. There's quite a good intent to the song as well, saying love's got the world in motion. I think it's a really nice way to look at things. The uniting nature of football. Sometimes people that go and watch football abroad get a bit of a bad rep. I think it's a little bit stereotypical, I suppose. People point the finger and go, oh, look, there's some hooligans or something. But my experience, football fans aren't really like that. In fact, some of the football fans I've met are the most nerdy people going. Getting back to the track anyway, love the drum programming here, the electronic vibes. There's so many things in the track that sound very, very 90s, yet they still hold up really well today. World in Motion by England and New Order. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. It really does help the channel out. Comment for the algorithm. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you